I think that an underrated skill is being able to do things even when they're hard. And I'm not even necessarily talking about, general, like more abstract kinds of things where it's like you're tired, but you go to work anyway, or like you're tired, but you go to school anyway. Um, you're tired, but etc. etc. Um, and I do believe that these things are important too. Like, just because you're tired doesn't mean you can't do these things. And that's not to say that, like, you can't take a break or whatever. Like, if you need to, if you really feel like you need to, I think it's imperative that you take a break, actually. Otherwise, you will burn out. Um, what I mean is that, like, sometimes if you're tired, going ahead and doing something anyway can actually energize you sometimes. Um, but again, that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I've noticed this more in like hard or like technical skills, um, or more tangible things. Not tangible. I don't know how to describe this. Essentially, I first noticed this when I was reading Wuthering Heights. Um, and actually, let's go all the way back to when it first started. I was reading this book called, and if you're Filipino or you speak Latin or whatever, don't come for me. This pronunciation. No Limitangere, by Jose Rizal. He's like a Filipino author, quote unquote hero. I think this is a required reading in a lot of um Filipino schools. Maybe all of them. I don't know if it still is, but a lot of people I know have read this book. Um, I have the English translation because I can't read Tagalog at that level. And when I first picked up this book, I think like 2 years ago or so, I was struggling so hard. Like every other word, mind you, English is my first language and is the only language that I speak fluently. Um, like every 10 words or something, there was a word I didn't understand. And so, I feel like growing up, I was taught that, like, if you come across a word you don't understand, then write it down, look up the definition, da da da, make sure, like, you can, like, remember it for next time. But when literally, like, there's 10 new words every single chapter and I'm stopping for each one of them, it, like, interrupts the flow of the story. And when I was initially reading this book, I was too focused on understanding every single detail of it that I wasn't understanding the broad picture of it. Like it wasn't making any sense to me. Um and so fast forward to about March of this year, I picked up Wuthering Heights randomly. It was towards the tail end of the movie's like residency in theaters, which I was sad about. I wanted to finish the book and then read the movie, but that didn't happen. Um, I was reading Wuthering Heights, and this book is written in like 19th century, like 1800s. And it's also like, I believe she's a British author. What's her name? Hold on. Emily Bronte. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Um, and so, like, she's using words I've never heard of. And there's a big cultural difference, like, not only in terms of like location, because she's British, or she was British, RIP, but also in terms of like time. Like, she is living this life in the 19th century. Girl, I'm from California, like in 20 in the 21st century. Like, was I had to like really get used to just the setting of it. And that's not even including like the one character, I forgot his name, but he's like Irish or Scottish or something. He had a very strong accent, which is like written in the book. Um, but my point with all of this is that when I was reading Wuthering Heights this past March, for context, it's now July 2026, I was running into words that I didn't understand, but I would kind of just like vibe it out and I would just continue reading the story. Um, and the story began to make sense to me eventually. Like, I didn't need to know what this specific word meant in this context and like how to use it in other contexts. And I could just like read it and kind of understand its place in the story. And it's not to say I didn't look up any words. If I really wanted to, I would like look up a word. Um, but a lot of them I was just like glossing over them or I don't know what the exact phrase is. Not grazing over them, but you know what I mean. Um, I didn't need to. I've said this a million times, but I feel like how this is applying to real life is that I don't think that I need to. I've released the need to understand every little detail of a situation or an industry or a TV show or like anything, like any general thing. I've released my need to understand every little nook and cranny in order to be able to enjoy it and to learn from it. Because in reality, like, if you are stopping to make sure that you have everything down and pat, it's going to take you a really long time to be able to do anything, to reach a higher level of anything. Like, I'm not going to sit down to paint and be like, oh, what is the best technique to do this? If I don't know the best techniques to hold a paintbrush, I'm not going to paint. I have to study that. And I mean, like, I think like it is worthwhile to learn that, but you will learn that as you start your path. Like, it's not like if you kind of glaze over the finer details that you're never going to get to them. It's more like you kind of have to push through sometimes, um, to just get momentum and like get the thing going, get your thing started before you can like fix the smaller things. Because if you are focused on building like the smaller things in life, I'm speaking so abstractly and I understand that. But I feel like for me, if I focus too much on little things, then I'll kind of burn out in a sense. I'll be like, oh my god, this is taking too long. I'm studying every little thing. I'm getting nowhere. Like, I'll just give up. And I think that's what happened with No Limit Tangere, like the book that I was reading the first time around. It took me like I was reading the book and writing down every single new word or phrase I came across. And I was like, fuck, this is taking so long. If it's gonna take me this long to read a book, I can't finish it. And also, like, this book is kind of big. Like, it's on the bigger side. Um, and the text is not that bad. Like the font size or whatever. But it's more like for me, focusing on smaller details can kind of make me feel like I'm taking too long because it will take a long time. Everything in this world is so detailed and nuanced. Like, there are levels to everything. There's levels to singing, to dancing, to painting, to making tea. There's levels to farming. Like, literally any skill you can think of, there's they're like specialties, because they take years and years to practice. Um but I think what is important is that you kind of get the general gist of that skill and you find enjoyment in it, and then or you try to see if you have enjoyment in it. Um, and if you do, then you continue learning and you hold on to that desire to learn. Even when things get hard, you are motivated because you know that you like this thing. Um, Whereas if you immediately try to learn the fine details of it, it might deter you from doing anything at all, um, because you'll be intimidated. And yeah, I guess that's kind of the general gist of what I've been thinking lately. I've also noticed this. I'm taking Russian right now. I'm in the second half of like the elementary course of Russian, and it's hard, girl. Like, it's hard. I sit in that class sometimes and I'm like, my brain is working overtime right now, and it's 7 p.m. and we have 2 more hours of class to go. But my point in bringing that up is it's like a similar thing with Wuthering Heights. Like, even though I don't understand everything, I understand some things, and there are some things that are not known to me, but they're close to what I know, and then I learn those things eventually. And then every lesson I get closer and closer to understanding like the full thing. And with learning a language, I think it's a little bit different. Like, you kind of do have to kind of know the smaller details in order to form a sentence or like really get a firm grasp of a language. But I think that also depends on like who your teacher is or your professor is, because sometimes like they'll give you something and they're like, don't worry about why this is the way it is, just know that it is, and you'll learn about it later. And I feel like that's kind of how the same concept can be applied to learning languages, even though um, there's again there's layers to that shit. Like, I think this is a tangent, but I am debating on whether I want to continue my Russian courses because I low-key have no reason to study this anymore. I low-key never did have a reason other than the love of the game. But this past summer, I'm in this classroom twice a week for 3 hours. And mind you, it's from like 6 to 9 p.m. And I'm sitting in there and I'm like, wow, I'm so tired. And I have no one to speak Russian to. Like, who am I going to speak Russian to? I was gonna say something that my dad said, but I'm gonna keep that for in real life interactions. But oh no, not he, me. I I don't know. I find it interesting and I find it rewarding. I just don't know if I find it fun necessarily. Like, when people ask me my hobbies, I'm not like, oh, I'm learning Russian. It's so fun. It's more like, I'm taking a Russian class. And I'm not, no shade to my professor. Like, I love this class. It's just hard. Like, the Russian language itself is hard coming from an English speaker. Um, but yeah, that's enough of that tangent. Um, but yeah, I think that more people should be challenging themselves, and we need to understand that hard things are worth doing, and that you don't have to be super good at anything in order to do them. In fact, doing things poorly is the only way to start. Is that bad advice? Um, like, we need to be having fun with our things. Things need to be fun. Again, we don't have to be super good at everything. We don't have to be optimal rate of whatever. It doesn't matter how many books you read in a year. If you read one book and you really liked it, that's great. No one should bog you down for that. if you, and this is related to something I've written about before too. I wouldn't really say that I play guitar all that well. I play well enough. If you ask me a song, if you ask me to play a song, I can maybe like, bust it out, but I don't really see myself playing in a band anytime soon. But, that's fine because like I play guitar kind of shittily and I like it. It's just so fun. Like I find a lot of enjoyment in it. And because I find that enjoyment in it and I prioritize my fun and not like necessarily learning, I've I've had more motivation to learn more songs and try the hard chords and to learn the hard like fingerstyle stuff because I love it. And I wouldn't have loved it if I was super hard on myself. Like, oh, I have to learn all the chords, I have to memorize them, blah, blah, blah. No, I learned the chords. I'm going off on I'm rambling so much right now. But no, I learned the chords. I learned like one chord at a time, and I would stare at the like guitar tabs or whatever to like understand them. And yeah, I feel like there's just such an emphasis in today's society to like be good at everything. I think that's just like the idea of us like standing on the shoulders of giants. Like everything has to be better than the next one, and we want to like be productive. We want to optimize our productivity. We want to optimize our sleep. We want to optimize everything. I'm like, damn, can I do something bad? Can I do something poorly, bro? Like shit does not have to be perfect all the time. Um, yeah. That is all I have to say on this matter. I think whatever this matter was, I've I think I've tried to end this video like 3 separate times and failed. Oh well. I'm gonna end it now. I hope you all have a great day and that you do something really shittily for the enjoyment of it.